In this video, we like to continue with our shift share analysis. In a preceding video, we show you how to utilize 2021 and 2016 Census of Canada to compute the numbers in our first table. Now we are going to use these numbers to put the numbers into our second table, which is the actual shift share analysis. Now, what is shift share analysis? It is to disaggregate the employment change in a particular industry at a particular geographic level, let's say Toronto CMA, into effects due to the national employment trend, the national industry mix factors, and then finally narrow down to local factors. To start with, we like to look at what is the total employment in the retail industry in Toronto in our base year 2016. It is simply the number filled out in our table right here, 9,980 respondents in the census questionnaire. Now, but this is not an actual population count for the entire Toronto CMA because the respondents, it's a 1 in 30 sample included in the data set. In other words, if we multiply 9,980 by 37, it will be close to the actual count in the Toronto CMA. So close to 370,000 people worked in the retail industry in 2016 in the Toronto CMA. What is the net gain in this industry between 21 and 2016? It is simply the difference between retail employment in Toronto in 2021 and 2016, but multiply into 37 to get a close to actual count. So we are looking at a net increase by 15,429 people working in the retail sector in the Toronto CMA. The goal here is to disaggregate this 15,000 into numbers that's due to a national employment growth effect or the national industry mix effect and the Toronto CMA local effect. So to start with, we assume that, let's say, the labor force or the labor market activities in the Toronto CMA in the retail sector behave just like Canada's entire market. In other words, if I look at that 369,260 people working in the retail sector in 2016, if the trend follows the national trend, it would have declined by 0.8%, just like Canada, entire Canada. In other words, we are anticipating a decline by close to 3,000 people in this industry. However, at the national industry level, different industries might behave slightly differently from the national overall trend. In other words, looking at this 369,000 people within the industry, how well, if it follows the national industrial trend, this 300,000 people could have increased by 2%, just like the national retail industry had gone through between the two census years. In other words, we would observe an increase by 8,741. But this number would have already included the national employment trend overall. In other words, within the industry, it must have increased greater than 8,000 to take into account of an overall decline of 3,000. In other words, the effect would be 8,000 minus the 3,000 to give you a total increase in the industry by 11,729, such that even net off the national employment trend, the whole industry would have seen a net increase by 8,000 people. Now, in Toronto, the total increase is 15,000. Part of it is attributable to a national impact, and part of it is due to a rapid increase in the entire industry overall. So how much is the increase? It's really due to a local Toronto impact. It is by 6,688. If you compare these numbers with the completed table, they are the same.